Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's CMO Peer Talk. I'm really excited to be here with our esteemed panel. Today, we're going to discuss the secrets of customer acquisition in specifically fitness franchises or fitness-oriented franchises. So this is a really interesting one. And we have such a great panel, and let's dive into introduce ourselves. So this mystery voice you hear today, unfortunately, I'm not on video due to technical difficulties. My name is Raakkel Sims, and I run PromoRepublic's customer success department, as well as I'm the host of CMO Peer Talks. So you all are familiar with me and probably bored of me, but I'm really excited to introduce our panel today. I'm leading off today. We have Shana Krisan from Goldfish Swim School. How are you today?
I am doing great, Raakkel. How are you?
Yeah, great. Thank you for asking.
So my name is Shana Krisan. I am the Vice President of Marketing for Goldfish Swim School Franchising. We are a premier Learn to Swim franchise teaching 185,000 kids per week from ages 4 months to 12 years old how to swim and be safe in and around the water. We have 133 locations in 32 states and 2 in Canada, and about the same in development. I've been with Goldfish for almost 9 years, and I've seen it go from 12 locations to the number we have now. And I get the privilege of sitting on the leadership team and also overseeing an amazing team of subject matter experts and just brilliant marketers, 13 of them total on the marketing team.
That's amazing, the growth that you not only have achieved, but you have planned. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you have an amazing team behind you, as everybody does today. We met some of them at IFA's Customer Experience Conference, so that was really great to see the whole team in person.
Thank you. I loved it.
Yeah, it was great. Introducing our next speaker today, we have Jenell Riesner. How are you today?
Doing well, thank you. Really excited to be here. I'm Jenell Riesner, the Director of Marketing and Brand at iLoveKickboxing. And we are a fitness franchise really focused on bringing kickboxing to everybody. So more of a fitness focus, very inclusive, welcoming anybody in, whether you have zero experience or you've kickboxed, throughout your life. And we really help people find their inner strength and power with over 100 locations in both the United States and Canada. So I'm really excited to be here and excited to share some of the insights we've been learning over the past couple of years.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us and for sharing. I think I actually live down the road from an iLoveKickboxing, so it's cool to see it in person and to talk all about it.
That's awesome.
Excellent. Our next speaker is Brett Larimer, another IFA Consumer Conference alum. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks, Raakkel. As Raakkel said, my name is Brett Larimer. I am the Executive Director of Brand Development for Skyhawks and Super Tots Sports Academies. We were founded back in 1979 and provide youth sports camps, classes, and clinics for kids between 18 months up to about 14 years of age, all intermediate to beginner level in over 10 different sports, including our STEM sports camps. We're in I believe about 36 states now, over 200 service locations, as well as 2 international master franchises. It's, as it says up there, I'm an example of our service. I grew up going to Skyhawks and Super Tots programs, started out coaching for them, and then joined the corporate team back in 2016. So it's really, really neat to be able to work at a company that I can say I grew up going to the programs for.
Yeah, that's so such a unique perspective that you grew up there and then you really worked so hard to get where you are today. So that's really, you have such an interesting story, and I'm excited to hear more as we go through today.
Thank you.
And last but not least, we have Walter Vendel from Fit20. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you very much, Raakkel. So yeah, I'm the founder of Fit20, and we're a super time efficient personal training program that people can once a week, appointment only, in 20 minutes, get fit and stay strong and healthy. And it sounds too good to be true. And that's what triggered myself when I got to know about this kind of training. And then I figured out that if you really want to make it good and big, then you have to put in a franchise model. So that's what I did. And I started in 2009 in the Netherlands, which is a small country, but we have about 130 locations now, both in B2C and B2B environment. We also for instance, do headquarters for large corporates or hospitals where we train the employees. And since 2015, we've been expanding to other countries. We're now operational in 10 countries, including the USA, and the next one hopefully will be Canada. And I got very excited about the idea of a BHAG, so Big Hairy Audacious Goal, which is in 2030, we want to train 1 million people every day to help change their lives for the better. And that's what gets me out of bed every day.
Wow, that's such an empowering and exciting goal to have 1 million people per day.
Per week.
Per week. Oh, yeah. Still exciting.
I'm a mother's guy.
You need to up it now. You've changed it. It's time.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, thank you everyone for joining. This is going to be a really productive call because you have so many different facets within the fitness space, and all are interested in, customer development and how we're growing and so on. So if we dive into the first question, which we can open up to the floor, all about how can you ensure the visibility of your fitness and gym studios and really stand out from the competition. We know that fitness today is at the forefront of everyone's mind. Everyone's finally, motivated after being at home for so long, and we want to do things to get physical and out of our house. So how do you set yourself apart and be top of mind to the prospects out there? Shana, would you like to take the lead?
Why not? So we are Children's Learn to Swim. So definitely fitness is a part of that. It's a component of it. Keeping kids safe in and around water is our main mission. But I really think it starts with where it starts, and that's at the beginning. I'm sure that Walter can tell you. It starts with that market and that site location and the visibility and selecting the right franchisees. I mean, that is the number one thing that we do when we really go into a new market, and to make sure that our franchisees are successful. But from a marketing perspective, I would say it's really a solid understanding of our mission and our market position, and therefore our points of differentiation are key, right? So we put a big emphasis on understanding our members and their wants and their needs so that we can create those marketing materials and those plans that meet them at every step of that journey, and answer their questions and concerns and their wants and their needs. We certainly do our homework on our competition, and we know who they are and how they position themselves as well. But we stick to what we do and who we are and what we do, as opposed to really focusing on that competition. If you know yourself well enough and you know your strengths, you really don't have to worry about the strengths of the others. And I know that's easy for me to say sometimes. I think franchisees look at me and say that's easy for you to say sometimes, but I really truly believe that it starts with research. It starts with the understanding of the consumer, and making sure that you understand how to position yourselves against that competition. But the most important factor is putting the emphasis on the experience we provide. So the customer service that we're providing and the best swim school lessons out there, really that is what's going to help us translate into happy, healthy, loyal members.
Chime in too. So very similar. I was looking over my notes, and it's fun to see the alignment there. But I'll just add a lot of what we're focusing on doing as well, and knowing our consumer base is really telling their stories too. I think marketing over time has really started to change, and it's less about obviously just shoving a message down people's throats, and really figuring out how do we highlight the existing people, whether it be our franchisees, whether it be our membership base, and really let them feel what it's like to be a part of the I Love Kickboxing community, not just from us as a corporate team or even our franchisees, but also from the people whose lives are actually changing day to day. And so we really focused on being able to, take that into referral marketing, or to just even share those stories and allow people to connect and say, hey, I can actually see myself. Maybe I was, someone who is more of like a couch to fitness type consumer, and I never thought I could do this, but I just saw someone else who had a similar journey and I heard their story. Therefore, now I can see myself going through that journey as well. So we really leaned into actually using our members to make sure that we're getting that visibility and allowing people to see themselves in the studio space.
Yeah, I can share a little from Skyhawks perspective. When you're working with kids, you almost have this extra added layer of responsibility to communicate how your organization not only whatever service or product you're providing, but also how you're keeping those kids safe, how you've done your due diligence as a company, and it's super important that that message gets back to the parents, the guardians of the children coming through our programs. So at Skyhawks, some of those really big things are making sure that we are delivering a great experience where parents are happy, because at the end of the day, our customer service, our marketing team, we can say, hey, we are so great, we're doing awesome, but it's the lived experiences of those other families that have come through our programs that will ultimately give the greatest testimony to that service and to other parents saying, yes, my child went through these programs. Not only were they safe, but they had a ton of fun. They made friends. The coaches were excited and engaged. And so it's about working with your entire team to make sure that you have that quality control all the way down to the services you're providing. And then also talking to your team about how to capture these stories that you have. Find examples where your customer service facing staff are going above and beyond. For us, it's, did we have a coach who maybe a child had some adaptive needs in a program? How did they step up to meet those needs? And then how can we take that story and share it and tell it? For us, that's a really big piece of it. It's finding the stories. One of the other ways that is more along the lines of this, standing out from the competition, but my challenge to everybody here and watching today is start looking at your competitors and not just thinking of them as competitors, but thinking of them as potential partners. There's a lot of people in the youth sports space. There's no denying that. Same with child educational services. For us, it's how can we go find other groups that we can partner with to make something even better? If we're talking in the sports space, how can we find another partner who can help us make sure that our curriculum is tailored to the developmental ages, that we have experts in each of these different sports we offer, making sure that that's a service we're providing? How can how can we work with a place like Goldfish Swim School to do a half-day sports program, half-day swim camp? There's so many possibilities out there. And I think that's something that's been a really, really big game changer for us, is recognizing those opportunities and seeing when there are opportunities that your competitors could actually be partners and you can be benefiting one another and working together.
Yeah, I really like hearing what you're saying, Brett, about the partnering. That's the same we do. Like, one of the things we always recommend our franchisees is to sponsor the local tennis club, hockey club, golf club. And that's how we can do great things. So if there's a golf competition, we offer prizes to win for Fit 20. And so the best person gets, for instance, 3 months free Fit 20 training. And that's a nice way to become known in the local community. So there is for us 2 very important criteria with visibility, which is of course location. So they always used to say location, 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 So we have the benefit of being a boutique fitness, that we have only 80 square meters per location. So we can really be also in the more expensive areas and still afford the rent. But it's a very important thing, apart from the physical location, that the local franchisee becomes the local hero. And you do that by becoming a central person in the local community and really helping. So charity activities, we get involved. The sponsoring of other sports, we get involved. And that way you get a lot of goodwill. And through partnerships, I do believe you build really a very good reputation, and that will grow the studios to very healthy levels. So we never look in the city how many other gyms or fitness centers or personal trainers are active. I don't care, because there's enough people, and I really think it's only better for the end consumer if there's more offerings that might match their needs. So we're never concerned about that.
I think everyone shared really interesting feedback. Walter, I love how you summarized that visibility to you is the location, but also the franchisee, and making them the local hero. Like, that is, I think, what a lot of, not us, obviously we're all in the franchise world, but a lot of the community out there forgets that a franchisee is your local X, Y, and Z. They're a member of your community. So just kind of saying that again and again and preaching that really gets the visibility out there. So that was really well, a really great point. Thank you for sharing. I really enjoyed everyone's perspective. Brett, your key point about, is it a competitor or can we use that to our advantage as a partner, is something to think of as well. And that's across every industry, not even just fitness. So that's a really interesting point of reference there. But I do think that you all had commonalities as you spoke about how to, do the research ahead of time, know the market and industry, and put your franchisees or even the consumers in their shoes, and you can grow that way. So that was a really great opening session, all about that visibility aspects, and the importance of essentially the conference we just came to about the customer experience and putting that at the forefront as well. So that was really great. So thank you for sharing. Moving on to our second question is more marketing focused, but I'm really interested in this from everyone's perspective about what channels are you focusing on for marketing to get more customers? Jenell, would you like to start us off here?
Sure, I can jump in. As far as new marketing channels, or newer, I should say, some of the big areas that we're focusing on is really diving deeper into our SMS strategy. So we all know that text messages are open significantly more than emails. I'm an email marketer by, trade in my background, so I'm always a big fan of it, but how can we continue to expand and really get in front of people? So that's definitely a channel that we're focusing on into 2023. We all are looking into TikTok as well, like many brands, and how do we leverage user-generated content and content created by our franchisees to really focus on even potentially a younger demographic. Although TikTok is not just 18-year-olds anymore, we definitely are seeing a lot of people in their 20s, 30s, and expanding upward. And then a big thing for us is also just focusing on existing marketplaces. So in the boutique fitness world, we have places like the MindBody Consumer app, ClassPass, things like that, where our consumers are actively searching for studios. So whether they're, traveling to a new city or moving to a new city, or maybe they're just looking to mix things up, we want to make sure that we're in those places where consumers are already congregating and spending their time, and making sure that every single place they go, they see, hey, there's iLoveKickboxing, like there must be something to this. They are in all of these key places, in addition to hopefully showing up through text message, through email, through social channels.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point. I know SMS was one of the newer, or not newer because it's not a new strategy, but newer emphasis was discussed quite a bit when we were all in person. And TikTok is absolutely on the rise. And I know TikTok has recently released new functionality via their API where you can now schedule TikToks ahead of time. So you don't have to actually natively create them on your own if that's not a strong suit of yours. So that's definitely something to watch, how more brands are adopting TikTok. But in the fitness space, you all are at a unique point, whether it is the fitness classes like Walter and Jenell have, or the children facing safety swim and sports activities like Shana and Brett have, because you have in different channels. As you mentioned, ClassPass, I found so many interesting experiences from ClassPass in my fitness journey as well. So really interesting. Brett, do you have any feedback as to what your marketing channels are at Sports Academy?
Yeah, so similar to Jenell, we've been looking into SMS a lot, not only to reach out to customers, but also ways that we can use it to improve company culture, communication with our coaching staff, that kind of thing. Most of our coaches, for example, are college age, so answering emails, not always the fastest way to get a response. Sometimes text is a little quicker. And I think as we see, especially for us in the children's industry targeting parents, as we move into Gen Z and millennials being the next generation of parents, or even for fitness opportunities right now, you're already targeting those groups, and it's about meeting them where they're at, which is on our phones all the time. One of the other things that we have really been diving into and are going to continue to dive into in 2023 It's just this move from your physical paper flyers to digital flyers that a lot of school districts are using now. So, working with, there's a couple different companies out there that do it. I think Peach Jar and the other ones, I want to say Chico, something like that in California. But knowing who they are and how to work with them to get those flyers out to your target groups. Right now, we see a lot of schools on them. My guess is that's a shift we'll continue seeing other organizations move toward. It's very, very similar to email marketing, but it's coming from these already trusted sources, whether it's a school, whether it's Parks and Recreation. And so you get naturally those better open rates. It's also much more trackable from a marketing perspective than sending out a bunch of paper flyers. So that's a couple areas we've been looking into. And then sort of along the line of TikTok, we've been really diving into Instagram Reels and just making sure that we're fully utilizing every single feature Instagram has. It's quite a stickler. But ever since we've shifted to, okay, how can we use stickers on our stories and timers and countdowns and reels, we've just seen such an increase in what our viral reach is. And in my experience, I feel like we've been getting just more accurate targeted reach through Instagram and Instagram Reels than when we do something through TikTok, and it's kind of you're casting that more wide fish net. So that's kind of the direction we've been moving into. And then the big one would be looking more into connected TV. We hear a lot of people talking about making that shift there. That I think will be our big new thing for 2023.
If you don't mind me asking, just a quick follow-up on that, what would you say your ratio is between traditional marketing and digital marketing? Because it sounds like you're doing quite a lot in different buckets.
Yeah. Gosh, I remember the days we used to sit in the office just counting out flyers in batches of 25 and separating them out by school to get the right amounts. At this point, I would say probably a good 80% or more of our marketing is digital. You can do more. We only have 2 people on our marketing team for the corporate office, supporting over 200 locations. And so for us, it's all about automation, so we can really be more scalable and provide better support to our franchise owners as well as our corporate locations. And a lot of the kind of traditional old school marketing methods just aren't as fast and efficient. That being said, we do still do quite a bit of it. We've seen kind of a kickback in sort of the frequency and the results you can get from direct mail. I wanted to be no, paper mail's dead, it's not happening, but it still is effective. It's just about figuring out which types are effective and actually going to produce those results for you.
That's a great point. Walter, I'd be curious to see what your marketing channels are and what your ratio is between traditional marketing and digital marketing, just because it's in a different market primarily than the rest of us.
Yes. So we have for our B2B business, the LinkedIn is working really well to start dialogue, and that's one way to also use paid content to just get in touch with the relative HR marketing or VP of a company, so we can get started talking about the corporate proposition. For consumer marketing, we find Facebook is still for us leading, and that's to do with our clientele is 40 plus old. So 40 plus is still heavily on Facebook. They're not yet on TikTok and all the other new platforms. We see that more women are on Facebook active than men. So the men usually join sort of later when their wives have joined and become enthusiastic about Fit20. So the men are a little bit harder to track online. What works for the men best is business clubs. So that's still the old fashioned getting together face to face and doing your pitch every time. So things like BNI as a business networking is working well for us because we have many entrepreneurs as clients. So that's still the old school, where you go out to network, and that works really well to also get in touch with other businesses. But for all the other marketing, it's all online what we do these days.
I think that's a really great point, and both Jenell and Brett have highlighted this in different ways about what they're doing, is that there's different social media channels, and each channel works best for different demographics and different reasons. We know LinkedIn is like the king of B2B, which is why, Walter, you said it works so efficiently for you there. And why Instagram or the Meta platforms are working better for Brett versus TikTok for Jenell. And then also Facebook natively for that older demographic. And Brett, you really summarized this well in highlighting that it's meeting your clients where they are. And all of you are doing that in really unique and interesting ways. Shana, how's that marketing focus at Goldfish Swim School?
This will go down in history as my least favorite and favorite question of all time, and the one that probably all marketers get from their franchisees the most often. What is the number one channel I should be on?
Yeah.
I hate it because I really truly believe that in the integrated approach to it. You cannot take one channel. You cannot chase the latest, greatest things. That said, I think that it's our job on the franchise side to really look at things from a brand awareness perspective. Brand awareness has to come before lead generation, and that is a tough pill to swallow sometimes when you have local dollars, limited local dollars. So I think it's our responsibility on the franchisor side to really help to amp up that brand awareness for our franchisees so that their local dollars go further. So to do that, I have a fairly healthy budget set to work with, which is why it's my favorite question to be asked. We use a lot of the traditional channels, honestly, but there's so much of a tweak going on now and an integration happening with those. So as you mentioned, I think, Brett, you mentioned direct mail. Yep, directed mail. We used it almost 9 years ago when I started, and that's what franchisees used. And then it kind of fell off somewhere because, at 2% open rate on the high end, who's going to want to spend that much money? But now we have connected mail as well. So that connection, that digital connection with not only direct mail, but also television, we do connected television as well, has given us this whole new platform to look at in an integrated way. So no longer do I have to choose a channel or a path. I can find the way that I can use some of the channels that work best, and I can mix and match them for franchisees, but I can also integrate them among other channels. So digital and social are all intertwined. And so now direct mail is in television. So we run traditional TV for sure. We do a remnant buying generally, but we also do connected television for the reach and the targeting. I think PR and influencers will absolutely continue to be really important to us. People don't want to be advertised at. They want to hear from other people that they care about and that they want their opinions on. And I don't even mean just influencers or people in their families. I mean, reviews. They want to go online and find out what other people have to say about your business. So those are areas that I know we're going to continue to double down on. Our public relations from a brand awareness perspective is incredibly important. So we have brand ambassadors, and we also have national influencers, and then we help our franchisees to find local influencers, because to somebody's point earlier, they don't necessarily care. The people in the community just don't necessarily care that we have 133 locations. They care about the one location in their market. So they want their local swim school to be their local swim school. So they want you to be a part of that. TikTok, for sure, we use it a strategy for hiring, help our franchisees with hiring. We also have it as a national channel, and we're continuing to add strategies to that. And then to keep up on all those social channels, you really have to have individual specific strategies that use those channels appropriately. It's not the same content and it's not the same purposes for all of these different channels. So when I say it's integrated, it has to be in order to really have the best marketing plan. And I think we've preached that to our franchisees. And I think we as marketers have to step back too and say, we have to take that into, we have to have an integrated plan that makes sense for our business.
Absolutely. I think being different types of sports and fitness and active franchises, it's important to think what, again, your demographic is, what works best. For both you, Shana, and Brett, you have the added layer of not only parents, but children as well. So it's making it approachable and kid friendly. And as you said, getting those local influencers that will matter to the community as well as all of what you're doing. And Shana, I know you have, as you said, those great budgets and a great sized team as well. In contrast to that 2-person like Brett has, for example. So it's all about working smarter, not harder. And I do like, to Brett's point, you highlighted the automation that you can get on digital that you can't on others. So it's really interesting. And as you can see, we have 4 panelists here and all similar but different answers, because there's not one size fits all in this. It's all about what works best for you, what your demographic is, and what you want to ultimately achieve through the different channels. So we talked a little bit about, how to market to the customers. But I would love to hear from your perspective about how to empower customers to be your advocates. I know, for example, the gym that I'm at, I started because I had a friend who went there, and now I referred my friends to there. So we have a little clique in our gym now, which is like really exciting, because obviously when you're there alone, it's not as fun, whereas you're with friends and people that you like. And doing gym classes and swim classes is so, social anyway. So it's really exciting when you can turn users into advocates. So I'd like to hear, maybe Walter, you can kick us off, because you have grown through, as you mentioned, maybe a spouse starting and then they bring in their husband and so on. How do you turn a customer into an advocate and get that referral methodology?
Right. Yeah. Well, that's the thing everybody wants, is that we have as our motto is Fit 20 for life. So when a member signs up, it's not for us that they just join for 6 months or 12 months even, but it's in our immediate projection that they stay with us for the rest of their life. And that's based on the fact that after the age of 25, your body degenerates slowly 1% per year. So if you don't do anything, it's use it or lose it. So we find a way that we can show. So what we always do is after 3 months, we put people back on their beginning weights, so they actually feel and see their progress. Then we have the progress charts, which they see from our training app. So you have to make it graphic and visible, that the fact that they've really come a long way. And then the stories they tell, like, I no longer have backaches, I no longer have aches, I can do more, I can run up the stairs, I'm not out of breath. So those kind of things you want to celebrate. And then once people are positive, we always, of course, use them for video testimonials. We sell Fit 20 purely only through the members, through the customers. And once they do their 50th training, then we have a Change by Fit 20 sign. And then they make a picture in the studio. They get a nice sort of recognition gift. And we do that also at 100. And then we have a Fit 20 for life sort of wall of fame in the studios. And once they come in for their first training, they already see all the pictures of members that have been training 50 times, 100 times, 150 times, depending on how long the studio is in existence. But we have members that have done Fit 20 now for 800 times, a few. So these are really the top ambassadors, and they really are the living embodiment of Fit 20 for life. And we get more and more, the studio exists, that kind of statement. And that's a great thing, because people want to do something to stay fit and healthy, but they don't know often what, and they don't stick to it. It's very hard to stick. But once they see that actually other people can do it and have done it, then they start to believe that it's possible for them too. So once people get to the 50th training and they get their first picture taken and they do their video testimonial, they are so super glad that they've actually managed to stick to something for a year. And that's already an outstanding accomplishment, because most people haven't done anything other than their job or school years, anything for a year, let alone 2 years or 3 years or longer. So you want to bring about that psychological change, and then the members will start talking, and the word of mouth is still, the most important revenue stream. For our average studio, it's 40% of the growth comes from members via members. I could go on for hours, but I think I better shut up.
That's really interesting. I think celebrating milestones is one of my favorite ways that you can do that. You highlighted really interesting ways that you do that. I've actually never seen that before, where you give them their beginner weights. I think that's really unique. I used to participate in a fitness franchise here, where it was divided between 30 minutes of cardio and 30 minutes of free weights. And my favorite thing was when the coaches would shout out, X has been with us for X number of months, years, and you feel that you're like a part of the community and a part of something. So celebrating that, as well as through the video testimonials that you're doing, is really unique and really exciting. So that's great. What about you, Jenell, just because you're also in that adult fitness space, before we dive into how Brett and Shana do it?
Yeah, so similar, we definitely celebrate milestones. We've been a franchise we're celebrating our 10th anniversary this year, which is really exciting. So we have people that are in the thousands sometimes, which is, wild, and really just trying to celebrate those people, taking the photos, giving them opportunities, talking about our social strategy. People love when someone tags them in a story on Instagram or whatever it may be. So that's a really simple, great way to have, the sign that's saying, I've been here 1,000 classes. They want to celebrate it. They want to reshare that content. Studios share it. We share it. So just getting, different pieces of content to really celebrate those people, sending them emails, giving them gifts. And then the other thing that we've even focused on from a franchisee standpoint is also just thinking about how do you advise your members. It's like, hey, how much is a customer worth to gain their attention? We think about that a lot through paid media, but we don't always think about that through referrals. And while many of our very excited members are just going to naturally share their excitement about what they're doing in studio and their own journey, I think it is nice to also add that additional incentive to really sort of seal the deal and keep it top of mind. Or maybe they're getting a discount on their membership next month because they referred someone and now they're a member. It's sort of just an added perk. And I would say from a human to human standpoint, it's a way to just say thank you. Like, we do actually really appreciate that you are recommending this to people. So we've spent a lot of time on utilizing some of our software and things to support those incentives and be able to give some of those discounts to our members that are actively bringing in new members and spreading the word. And that's been really successful for us. And again, just builds good clout and a better relationship with our existing members to show that we really do appreciate them.
Yeah, I think the incentives definitely help. I am personally a recipient of some of those. So it, like you said, it drives that sense of community, and you feel valued as a customer, as well as the value from the brand perspective. So I think that's really interesting to see what you're doing. Kind of switching the angles to that more membership and child swim school and sports academy base. Shana, how are you empowering the consumers? Because obviously the first thought is, well, the kid can swim safely, but also the satisfaction is not only the child, but it's the parent in your case. So I'd love to hear from your perspective. How do you turn them into, watching the class, to talking about that and bragging about that to their colleagues or friends?
We're really, really lucky. We have an extremely high NPS score. We have very few negative reviews across the entire system. So that makes my life a lot easier. I just met with an emerging franchisor this morning that had some questions, and we were talking about this. And we're in such an economy and in such a position right now, socially, that the experience is overtaking everything else, right? So the golden experience is what we call it. And it's not just about thinking that you know what they want, but I really believe in asking them what they want, doing the research, doing the surveying. So really knowing what that it is that the swimmer wants and what the parent wants for the swimmer and how it all fits into their life, so that you can get them exactly what they want in that golden experience. I would say talk to them. There's nothing wrong with somebody walking around in your facilities and asking people how they're doing, how things are. And then when they're telling you all these wonderful things that you hear within your facility, ask for the referral. It's not a difficult thing to do. Ask them if they love your facility and appreciate your services. Make it easy for them. Give them a little card that makes it easy for them to put it out there. Give them a QR code. I want to talk about something that's old, that's new again. QR codes are such a big thing now. Give them a QR code to make it very, very easy for them to do those referrals. Use testimonials on your website, on your social, on your school TV monitors, in your collateral, in your email marketing. Create blogs that highlight some of the great stories that you are hearing within your four walls. Parents love to hear from other parents. Survey your members and ask them to promote, ask your promoters to post online and make it easy for them to do so. And like Jenell said, a referral program, I'm a big referral program advocate, but it's making it as easy as possible. So a unique URL that you can create that you can send out to all of your members that then they can go ahead and send on to their friends and make it a win-win so that the referrer and the person being referred is also receiving something. And then I would say, just again, share everything that you can on every channel. We have so many channels as marketers. This is gold for us to be sharing these word of mouth and these referral programs and these great experiences everywhere.
Yeah, I was just going to echo that too. Something we've been doing, and it's very simple, not novel, but a good reminder is just using a CTA of basically like, hey, do you remember that we have a referral program? And just putting that, in our email signatures at the bottom of things, just keeping that top of mind. Because I think Brett, you had kind of mentioned, it's just easy to forget sometimes, or to be like, oh yeah, I do get $50 or, a free month or whatever the incentive is if I bring this up. Maybe there are a few other people that I might want to come work out with. And then I was just going to add too, sometimes just making it fun. We just did a campaign we did Camp ILKB, I Love Kickboxing, and we encouraged our franchisees to give out friendship bracelets with a free week. And so it's sort of like, the members get to give something to people that they like, and the bracelets were cute. They said, you're a badass. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear, but because we're kickboxing. So, but just, something fun to remind, even if someone doesn't come in, it's like, oh, wow, I have this really cool bracelet where my friend thought of me in an empowering way. And it then can generate referrals, which is, everyone wins in that way.
I love that you said that, Jenell, and that just made me think, like, well, of course we do this. Branded merchandise. We do a lot of celebrating as well too. So we give each student a prize every single week that celebrates part of our monthly celebration. So we give them weekly prizes, we give them progress ribbons, we move them up because we're perpetually based. We have a student of the month, we have an employee of the month, we have bubbles in our mascot on everything that you could possibly ever see, towels and lunch boxes. The more you get that out into the community, they don't have to tell anybody else something. People are seeing it. They're a walking billboard for your business. So that merchandise, I look at it very much as marketing.
100%. Yeah, people forget that sometimes. It is another revenue source, but it's definitely marketing and brand awareness in the subtlest but most effective way.
I agree with that. I think having the swag as a recipient is great. As a marketer is even better, because then when you see it out in the wild, you get like that sense of excitement. So I think that is a really important point, that it's not only, what you're doing and celebrating the milestones of the customer's journey, but also celebrating as a brand. As you said, Shana, you have the employee of the month and so on, and things that you're highlighting beyond just their X number of classes in or so on. So really interesting point. Brett, how is that referral generation process going for you?
Yeah, it's going good. So we some really, really great points have already been touched on. The branded merchandise, we do that. Kids get a t-shirt when they come through our programs. And then summer camp season is usually our biggest season, kind of depending on the market. But during summer, we actually hand out sports equipment too that the kids get to take home. It's a little bit of a twofer. So we're teaching life skills through sports is our motto. So the Monday of the week, say it's a soccer camp, kids get their soccer ball. In order for them to learn responsibility and respecting their coaches, they have to remember to bring the ball back every single day of the week. And then at the end of camp, they get to keep that. So they can go home and keep playing that sport even after they've already attended our program. I always like to give the example. I actually went to a wedding in Eastern Washington and the wheat fields of Pullman, and there's for anyone who knows that. There's not a lot there. If there's any WSU graduates, go Cougs. But as we're taking pictures for this wedding at this house on a farm, this kid comes over with a basketball, and it's an old Skyhawks basketball from like 2001. So naturally I had to do my own Skyhawks photo shoot, all dolled up for wedding gear, but it just goes to show, like, those are marketing materials that keep on giving. You hand out t-shirts, those kids are going to wear them to school. They're going to wear them out and about. Other families are going to see them. That is bringing you new business. That's happy customers advocating for you. The bring a friend to camp. That's a super easy one, to start talking to kids about. Yes, you can make friends camp, but it's also really fun to bring someone to come to this program with you. One of the other things that we've found is it's really, really important to educate all of your staff on how to, one, identify happy customers. And I don't mean like, oh, they maybe had an okay time, but the really, really happy ones that will say something for you. And then to teach them how to appropriately go up to them and say, hey, we're so happy to hear you had a great experience. If you'd be willing, it would mean a lot to us if you'd leave us a review online. For us, that's also a great way for us to know how our coaches are doing. We do take internal evaluations that we look through, but to also have those external facing ones that other parents can see is really important, especially if they're saying, hey, Coach Skittles in this town did a really, really awesome job. We want to come back. That lets us know who our really exceptional staff are so that we can reward them. So we can say, hey, thank you for running this great program. People want to come back to. So that's been a really big piece of it. Same with talking to our customer service team who are helping people on the phone. If they have a really productive parent phone call, or even if a parent calls in with, maybe a question or a concern about something at camp, if we're able to successfully resolve that issue, to take it to heart, to make something good, it's about teaching your customer service team to also say, hey, if you're happy with how this was resolved, again, it's a little situational, but there are opportunities to get really positive feedback from those people. And in my opinion, getting a testimony from someone who had an issue that they then edit and update to say, hey, they responded quickly, they took my problem to heart and handled it appropriately. We went back and had a great rest of the week at camp. That's such an awesome piece of feedback to get, because it shows your other customers you're willing to listen. Sometimes, when feedback comes in, we get a little defensive, and it's important not to start from that perspective, but to start from, are there things we really need to take to heart here, and how can we address those? So just creating ample opportunities for your staff members to ask for those reviews, to tell customers where it's at. That's empowering them because it's reminding them. Usually happy customers just be happy and go home. Maybe they say something face to face, but it's the unhappy ones, especially in child services, that write you a novel online if something happens. So it's just really important that you educate everybody, that you're being really intentional and fast with your responses if reviews do come through, including good ones. Thank people for giving you a positive review. That's so easy, and that's such a small thing you can do, that it's super, super important. And then the other thing we try to educate all of our staff on is, if you see a parent at a program taking a picture, please go ask them to post that on their social media and tag us, or just say a simple, hey, you can find us at Skyhawks Sports on all social media sites. We would love to be tagged. This is a great picture. We just got one yesterday of a kid in his Skyhawks shirt, totally dead asleep in the back seat after camp. And his mom posted a caption along the lines of it was a good day at camp today, right on. That's what parents want to see. Their kid had so much fun. They're tuckered out after a program. That's then twofold, right? You're getting that positive customer feedback, and then you can take it and repurpose it into content, so that it's not just you saying, come to our programs. It's other people saying, look at this awesome experience my child had. And it just helps other parents put themselves in the shoes of that customer, so then they want to come to your business. But education has been so important, and it has made such a colossal difference for us. And also as a franchisor, educating our franchisees about the importance of reputation management, and how the more of that they can do, the better their business is going to rank in, as far as SEO. And, when you're looking at your search rankings, it's going to help bring them business on their Facebook. And so we've really been diving into that the last couple of years, and it has just paid off tenfold.
Really, really great point. And turning reviews into essentially walking billboards for you. And that is not something that is like child activity specific. Like, Shana and Brett, you have, but that's for every type of fitness franchise, or not even fitness, any organization out there, is that reviews, do your work advertising for you. If it's a great employee or great fitness coach that they love and makes them feel great, asking for the review. So the QR codes that you have, or asking that in your email footer, I think those are really great ways to highlight this. So I think that is a great point. And that kind of brings us actually to the last question of the day, which is, how do you actually measure this? Because throughout today, we've discussed so many different ways that you're actively trying to engage prospects and customers, whether that is being active on different social media channels, by having a referral program, and by branding yourselves out in the market and being a local pillar of the community by sponsoring maybe different teams and so on. So each one of you is doing so much. I would love to hear from your perspective. How do you actually quantify this and measure this to say, yes, these efforts are actually paying off and we're getting a solid ROI from this?
I can start.
Sure.
From a macro level, we really look at system and franchisee performance. So we have a dashboard that we use that we keep a pulse on everything from system-wide. So revenue, enrollment, leads, lead follow-up, percent class full, break evens. So that's really great. But that, to me, that gives us a little bit of the what, but it doesn't really tell us the why. So from a marketing, we really measure each of those channels and initiatives against predetermined KPIs. And this might go down as my second least favorite question sometimes, because it's just so much more complicated than people will make it. Data itself is already complicated, but it can get a lot more complicated if you don't break it down by channel, because each of these channels really has separate actionable KPIs, and you have to know what they are. You can't broad brush everything with the same KPIs. So for example, we look at our digital, we look at franchisee spend, we look at channel mix, we look at number of leads, we look at cost per lead, and then we actually look at conversion, because at the end of the day, how much you're bidding on a keyword doesn't matter at all if your conversions are there, right? So that's from a digital perspective. For social, we're going to look at posting cadence, we're going to look at posting content, we're going to look at impressions, engagement, boosted content metrics. For email, we might look at number and content of the sends, open rates, subject lines, links with the most and the least engagement. Things like the competitive situation though, and the geography, the vintage of our schools, the budgets that are allocated by the franchisee, and the different, really all of that has to come into play for this. So we really want to be able to break it down to be able to support our franchisees in a way that makes sense. We have to be able to analyze all these different data points, but I think we have to break it down by KPIs by channel and then bring it back together to see how it all fits. So we ask our franchisees to share marketing plans and marketing tracking sheets with us so that we can see where they're spending their money against a given time period or a given promotion. That also allows us to see how some of their local promotions are working and which ones convert, or where there might be extra opportunity. Maybe they're not boosting those posts, which then allows, we have a great core of marketing consultants and partners. It allows them to get together with our franchisees and have substantive conversations on how to optimize those plans. And then we have a regular conversation with our schools that include our franchise business consultants, our curriculum consultants, and our marketing consultants on a regular basis to take a full look at that picture to see where we can optimize. But I beg everyone to please look at these things and don't try to pull information out of KPIs that shouldn't be attributed to a certain channel. Look at each channel for what it should be doing for you, and then look at the big picture.
I think that's really well said. Starting at measuring the specific channels and the ad spends on that compared, sorry if you hear my dog barking in the background, he just heard our mailman. But driving from that into at the macro level, what you're doing across the organization. So I do think that you do have to take it both from the franchisee's perspective as well as the brand perspective. So that's a really great point. Walter, what about you? How are you measuring the effectiveness of all that you're doing in the marketing sphere?
Yeah, one of the key things is, of course, to get the data right. And that's the hard thing, to get our franchisees to really on board with that. But we're using Zoho CRM system, and we can track, therefore, the source of every member. And that's very important, because then we can look at the retention per member, per source. And then it becomes very clear also the cost of acquiring a member, given each different source versus the lifetime value. And there are certain things which are so simple, but you need to go through a lot of data to see the kind of simple, intuitive things that you actually already know. Like, the best members come via members, so they stay the longest. And the people who we acquire with paid campaigns on Facebook, they stay the shortest. So forced fruit will also be forced leave, the shortest leave. So there are certain commonalities you can see once you track the data. And same with, for us, networking works really good. So that can, again, the way of really building this community. So there is really the engagement. And the more there is the engagement from a person that brings another person, that will also produce very good members. So there is this simple kind of tuning fork principle that a good member will bring good members. And you want to just go with that, which is why I also heard that companies, and we do the same, if you have a complaining customer, we say get rid of them. That's better than keeping them, because it will just get your NPS down, and you spend a lot of time and energy on keeping an unhappy customer on board, whereas you should give that time and energy to your good customer, because they bring a dozen new ones. And some people just, you can't please them all and you can't win them all. But you have to put your limited time and energy on the ones that are already satisfied, because they become the ambassadors. And we use the data to show our franchisees which campaigns work well. We share that across the board. So LinkedIn, Facebook, they work, but what works best is really the word of mouth, what I said, once you've got your studio established. And that actually makes the marketing efforts the least expensive, and you get most out of your efforts.
I was just going to jump in on that. So I know there's a question about recruiting in the chat earlier, and this speaks to it a little bit, because I know that staffing is an issue just, everywhere at this point, but focusing on the higher quality leads. So that is one of the things our franchisees, their staffs, they have a limited amount of time and energy and focus. So how do we make sure that, to your point, Walter, where are these leads coming from, and are they the leads that actually stick around, that they have the highest LTV, lifetime value, that they are the best fit for what we're doing, so they will be then in turn be happier. So that's something, and it is harder to quantify. We do it a couple different ways, by using UTMs, by offering specific offers, so we kind of know what buyer persona would buy that, or what qualifies them to be able to buy that offer, and then track their journey, not only through the sales, traditional sales funnel, but then also throughout their membership and their, their time with us as a community member, which is hopefully long, and we can see that through the LTV, but really trying to hone in on how do we not necessarily get, thousands and thousands of leads, because I think people always think more is better, but how could we actually funnel those people down and make sure that they are the right fit, and rather than calling 100 people a day to try to get them in, maybe you call 20, but 50% of those people convert. How much happier are you going to be? How much better is the morale of your sales team going to be? How much more excited are your instructors and staff going to be, and feeling like they're doing a good job, and that they're having positive conversations rather than pestering people? So that's one of the things that we really focus on, more so from a funnel standpoint, but just making sure that we're getting those high quality leads and the right people to interact with us. And to your point, not being afraid to say like, hey, we might not be for you. And that's a good thing. Like, there are millions of fitness, maybe not millions, but there are tons of other, fitness franchises that might be a better fit for you. And it's okay if we're not, but let's figure that out up front. And then you can find something in a place that makes you happy, and we can continue to bring in people who we know we can have an impact positively on their life.
Absolutely. That's a great point. Brett, I would love to hear how you're measuring everything, last but not least, before we close out today.
I'll keep it quick. I think the other three hit really well on the importance of data. One area that we are always working towards, that's a little bit harder to measure, is we always have this continuous goal of we want Skyhawks to become a household name. That's a lofty goal. That's very hard to quantify. So we have other supporting goals that kind of help that. But one of the things that we do to really measure this is just we have open conversations with our franchisees, with our customers, with our staff. If, for example, our president was in an airport in a state we don't even operate in and heard the couple in front of him in line for security talking about how their kid was going to Skyhawks camp next week and they couldn't wait, and he tapped on their shoulder, said, guess what? But moments like that the more of those instances that we can see, that we can bring back and have on record that, okay, yes, this is working. Okay, we're launching a new franchise territory in a state we haven't been in. How can we start the marketing now so that when they come in, they're ready to start running programs, they have that brand awareness? And then how are we measuring that? How can we, how do the advertisements we're running here compared to advertisements we're running somewhere where we already have an established brand presence? Is the conversion rate way worse because nobody knows about us? Okay, then we need to increase our brand awareness advertisements we're running to help nudge that, so that when that franchise is ready to come in and open, the market is ready for them and ready to accept them and knows what our company is and what we do. So sometimes, in addition to those really hard data-driven goals, you can add in extra things like that. Like, that's more of an umbrella goal, right? Like, how can you get your brand out so that it's just a common conversations in people's household, that businesses know about you, all of that. And so for us, it's keeping tabs on that. And then one of the other ways that we keep tabs on kind of local marketing and how things are going, it's tools. If you do not have tools helping you measure what you're marketing, what's happening at the granular local level, as well as what's happening at this overseeing national or international level, you're going to be trying to crunch numbers all day, and you're going to be spending so much time trying to figure your data out that you're never going to actually take insights from that data. And so having the right tools in place is absolutely critical. And then having other tools that help take that data and turn it into something that is digestible by everybody. Most of our franchisees, and being in the fitness industry, I'm guessing you guys can sort of relate, but their backgrounds are kinesiology. They were fitness trainers. They were PE teachers. Marketing is not on the forefront of their mind. And so if I go into a conversation using keywords and KPI, they're not going to understand what it means. So really simplifying that conversation. We have one tool that creates word clouds around customer sentiment that is pulling from reviews, from comments, from questions and engagements happening on social media. That's a really quick, easy way. I can take that to the local level, meet with our franchise owner or area manager and say, okay, the keywords for different sports are all in green, but if your coaches, the word coach is in red, that shows us we have an issue there. Or if wildfires are a big problem and air quality can be an issue, especially if anyone lives on the West Coast, you've seen a lot of that. If air quality is like the one bad thing that's consistently in red, okay, that's a different conversation. Then we need to look at our policies around that, or talk about how we are communicating to customers locally about what our policies are if we can't run a camp because the state says the air isn't healthy enough for the kids. So finding more visual ways to take the data and just put it in more digestible forms that people can understand is something that's really, really important to do. And that's how you can get more buy-in and investment at the local level for these marketing strategies.
If I could add one more thing, and this is why I love these so much, Walter, you made me think of this when you said this, that attribution that you're talking about, that where do our leads come from? I think as marketers, and to your point, Brett, a lot of our franchisees don't have marketing backgrounds either. So that last point of attribution is sometimes the thing that people will leech onto. So in our world, it's word of mouth, and probably all of yours as well. Word of mouth is the big one. Please help us all to explain that word of mouth. You cannot forego the rest of your marketing plan because word of mouth shows up as your number one lead attribution. It is a journey, and we really have to do a good job as marketers to help our franchisees understand that journey so that they don't make decisions based on that last point of attribution.
Absolutely. Really well said. And I do want to thank you all for sharing your efforts and how you're measuring this, and as well as obviously for having such a productive conversation today. It is really interesting how different franchises in fitness or activity space can have so much commonalities amongst it as growing the business and reaching out to customers, as you can have the differences that set you apart. And Shana, just to echo this, I love having these peer talks because hearing ideas that bounce off each other or ideas that you can take back and be like, actually, I forgot about that, or bring it back. I think that's why we do what we do, because it's so exciting for us. So to close out, I know we're about 5 minutes over, so I'll run through quickly a little bit about PromoRepublic. We are an intelligent local marketing platform that helps multi-location and brands get more clients and membership through our data and points. So if you're interested, let us know. We have fitness and well-being franchises amongst some of our clientele. But more importantly, the speakers here today. I know we didn't have so much time for questions, and I do want to thank the speakers for sharing your feedback while we were going through. I saw some activity in the chat, which is great. But if your question hasn't been answered, feel free to scan any of our codes. This brings you directly to our LinkedIn, and we're happy to take this conversation offline today. So with that, I just want to thank everyone for your time today and look forward to our next peer talk. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Bye.